Hey there, welcome back. It's Shireen. This is part two of creating a flat in Illustrator. We're working with our polo. As you can see, we've already created the polo based on a photo and a template that we've got. So if you need to catch up to us, please check out part one. Part two, we're going to be just giving a very introductory level look at brushes and symbols. I'll create different videos for those because we can do deeper dives separately, but for right now, just introducing you to the concept of working with pattern brushes and symbols. And we're also going to throw in how to create a clipping mask so that we can mask in some details. So we've already got some basic stitches here. The thing that I really want to do though is add some rib to this collar. Maybe you might have a band, you might have some ribbing at the bottom, what have you. So for me, I want to add some ribbing. So we're going to create what's called a pattern brush. A pattern brush basically says you show Illustrator what the singular motif is, and it'll create a pattern in repeat of that motif. So it means it'll continue the pattern over and over again with wonderful precision. You don't have to do all that work. You create one, Illustrator will do the rest. So to create a basic rib, really all you're doing is just creating a very simple line. I'm using no fill and black stroke, and I'm going to kind of just create, I think just that should be more than enough. Right now that stroke is a little bit too thick, so up here we're going to take that down. Let's take that down to the 0.5 so it could be a nice finer line. This rib, we can imagine over and over again would become the rib pattern. So let's grab our brushes panel, and all we're going to do is grab that one singular line, drag and drop, and we're going to choose pattern brush. We have a lot more brushes. Like I said, we can do some separate videos for that, but for right now, understanding what the concept of a pattern brush. And you'll see we're getting a preview. I'm going to go ahead and name the brush Rib 1. But for right now, the space between the lines is at 0. So let's make it 100%. You see you get a live preview, and we've added 100% spacing in between. I could even add, I can make it 150, right? So I can really increase that spacing. That really looks nice. I can also choose the scale, whether it remains fixed or whether it's going to sort of have some variation. For right now, fixed is great. Flip along, across, stretch, approximate path, colorization. Again, for an introductory, we're going to leave all of those to the default. Flip, we would have to, again, kind of see the relationship of the particular brush to the path. Same thing for fit, how that particular brush fits along that particular path. For right now, this is such a simple brush, we don't need to worry about either of these. Same thing for colorization. We're going to stick to just black for now, but later we can learn how to color the brushes. So this looks great. We just have to think about the spacing, and don't forget to give a good name. As far as the corner of your brush, since we're here, I'll just show you again. Illustrator makes it so easy. It's showing you that right now, as it's working across a corner, sort of not quite sure what to do, so it's just going to do an auto slice. It can also kind of just create, it has some little options for you here. I think that's kind of great. We really actually don't have a lot of corners, but I'm just showing you where you could access that from. So this is outer corner, inner corner, what it looks like at the cap, etc. Again, this is a straight line, so check out, I'll be creating another video to look deeper into brushes. Once I've created my motif, I'm actually just going to delete it because I really don't need it anymore. Aha, look here, it's been saved in my brushes. What I'm going to need though is I need a path along which that motif will repeat. So I need to give it a path. Let me just show you before I even put it into my collar what it looks like. Let me create a straight line and put a rib along that line. Ta-da! Okay, so you can see we don't actually have anchor paths. So this is an effect. We're not really creating actual paths of lines, but we're getting the visual effect of a line. And so that's actually, a stroke is a visual effect, brushes are visual effects. We have a lot of effects in Illustrator. We'll learn as we go on how to feel more comfortable editing them and modifying them. But for right now, just showing you that that straight line now repeats itself over and over again along a path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create, I'll just do it right here on an angle. I'm going to kind of create a line that I think follows the grain. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, I think I'm on the wrong layer. So I'm going to actually let me move all of these out of the way so you can see. Okay, so this is actually, I'll just put this above here. And I'm going to go ahead and put my brush. Where's my brush? Where's my layers? Get that brush on there. Okay, so you can see with my rotate tool if I want. I can even, so actually you see that that's pretty much what it would pretty much look like. I think I don't like that it's not curved though. So I'm going to go ahead and create a curve for it to follow, and I think that has a little bit more nice softness to it. Let's put that brush on. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, so this rib now though has to be clipped into the collar. So here's what that's going to look like. We're going to create our very first clipping mask. So we're going to go ahead and select the element that needs to be clipped into, and we're going to send that to the back. Right click, arrange, send to back. Then we're going to shift click to add also the piece. So not only the piece that's in the back, but shift click to add the piece that's going to be doing the clipping. This is the clipping path. Okay, so this is the path itself. This is the contents. And then we're going to right click and say make clipping mask. So that's kind of funky, right? So we got the rib to go into the shape, but now we've lost all the color and the stroke. So this is something very common. Unfortunately, again, in the beginning, it's a little bit frustrating. When you create a clipping mask, you're going to lose the appearance, the fill and the stroke, or any other attributes of that object. So all you need to do in this case is you're going to select with your eyedropper any other pattern piece that has the same fill and stroke, like this sleeve, for example. It has the same gray fill, black stroke, 1 point, and that looks great. All right, let's do it to this other side of this collar. Let's go ahead and create what we think okay, if that's not quite right, I can always just kind of adjust it. I have the fill on, I'll take the fill off. Let's see how that's gonna look, and if we need to adjust it, we always can. Add the stroke there. I think that's kind of good. I think that should be good. So let's go ahead and take these contents, the rib, right click to send them to the back, arrange, send to back, shift to add, bring in that piece now. So now you're selecting the contents as well as the clipping path. Both are selected. The relationship has to be both of them together. The clipping path in the front, the contents to the back, make clipping mask. Okay, we lost our appearance. What should we do? Eyedrop to select any other area that has the same appearance. Okay, so let's see. I think that looks okay. Actually, I'm not really too thrilled with that actually, so let me go ahead and okay. Yeah, I think it would be something more like this. Let's go ahead. It doesn't even matter. I'm really just getting it to there. See how it's kind of just following along whatever I do. There, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do my last piece there. Give it a little bit of a curve, give it that rib, take off that fill, send that rib to the back, object arrange, send to back, right click, shift click to add the clipping path itself, right click to make a clipping mask. Uh-oh, lost the appearance. Eyedrop to sample any other area. Okay, so now you already see this is starting to look a lot better already. I want to now add a couple buttons. There's a button here. If we look at there's a button at the top and a button here. There's a button here at this point, but it's obscured, so we can't see it, right? So we have that piece of fabric that's slipping over. We just have a little line we have to add for our button hole. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and first of all, that's the easiest thing to do. Let me just add that line. Okay, so that's my buttonhole, and let me add a little, a couple circles, so a couple buttons. So now we looked at brushes. We made our very first, very basic pattern brush. Now we're going to look at symbols. A symbol is an instance. It creates a visual appearance. Again, aha, there's that same concept. A visual appearance. So it doesn't have all the anchor points. It's not editable unless you want it to be, in which case you can break the link. You can always edit at any point. But for the meantime, once you create that symbol, you've got an instance of the artwork without all the anchor points. And guess what? Without those anchor points, you're bringing the file size down. So that's why for logos, for artwork that never really needs to be edited, like a logo for a company that's not going to be edited, we want to have the visual appearance of that logo, but without adding file size. So that's one of the many, many great reasons to use symbols. So just to get used to this concept, we're going to create a couple buttons. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to work from the inside out, creating a little circle. And I want to bring the stroke size down. And then I want to, let's say I want to also Command C to make a copy, Command F to place in front. And look what this looks like. I'm going to give it a little bit of a ridge. Okay. Actually, I think I'll bring both of them down to 25 to make them a little bit thinner. I'm holding Option so that I can get that nice fine circle. I'm working from the center out for my transformation. And I can also, if I want, bring that down to 25%. I keep zooming in until I can get Option or Alt to make those duplicates. So that's how I'm doing all that. I'm going to select all of these together and I'm going to ask them to act as one group. You're also going to see me group the flat, but here's our first introduction to grouping. By selecting all four of the circles, they'll act as a group. And the reason I want them to act all as a group is because I want them to align to the center. Go under here on the control panel, align to the center, align to the center vertically. Perfect. So I've got all the button now, everything lined up. Once again, I can do object group. Okay. And once I have that, yes, sure, I can go ahead and just kind of copy it and make a copy. But if I want to save this button to use it for other flats, I want to use that button for lots of other garment details. At this point, all I have to do is drag and drop. I'm going to save it not as a movie clip, but as a graphic. I can call it button 1. And so if I'm saving it as a graphic, it's now saved. You see, I can kind of drag and drop and have that appear anywhere that I want. For right now, I think I'm actually going to drag and drop it right there. Both of them, I think I need to shrink them down a little bit. I'm going to go to transform. I'm going to say bring them down to, I think, about 80% just to get them a little bit smaller. And it's starting to look good. Okay, so we've got our first button, maybe down here we think is sort of that second button. And the third, yep, that looks good. That looks good for now. Okay. And last but not least, if I really want, if I'm so inclined, I can kind of add like some little, this here, by the way, should not have a fill. That's an open path. If that fill was another color, you would not be happy. All right, so that should have no fill. And maybe I do sort of another. Okay. There. So a little bit of some sort of direction lines to kind of make it feel a little bit more dynamic. Okay, but these really, really aren't necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and delete them. And I'm going to kind of, if I choose, if I want to make these a little bit wider, I could, with my direct select, pass over these. And what I like to do is I like to do the count method. So with my arrow keys, 1, 2. And if I grab these, I'll go 1, 2 in the opposite direction using my arrow. So that was my left arrow, right arrow. I feel like that balance is a little bit nicer. I'm really happy with my flat. Once I'm totally done, I'm going to go ahead and select all the pieces in those active layers. I'm going to go ahead and say object group. They bring them all into that one nice layer. And if I really, really wanted, I could actually get rid of all these other layers now because I've got all my flat and I can just pick it up and go and start placing it on my presentation boards. And I think we're really in great shape. All right, so you're going to want to practice this a lot. There's a lot of techniques here. Clipping mask, brush, symbols, and again, sort of some eyedropper and sampling. Go back and review, you know, working with the outline, creating that nice heavy outline. Don't forget, I'm more than happy to answer questions in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.